Abortion, I think, is one of the most saddest, the most jarring, traumatic experiences a woman can go through. And I work with women, probably 50-50 ratio men and women when it comes to how to channel courses and how to channel different self-mastery in relation to courses that I teach. But when it comes to all conversations I've ever had with females online, I only work with online, StreamYard or Zoom, and definitely abortions. When that comes up, this is the most both secretive, intimate, private, traumatic, embarrassment, shameful, sad topic that ever comes up. And my heart goes out, my full heart goes out to the people that have gone through these procedures, these decisions, these very traumatic decisions. This is the largest, I think, decision any female can make, for sure. And there are different reasons why women would go through an abortion, and I don't need to go into that, I'm not a female. But it can leave a person very unsettling and numb and sad, and also too, it can leave them very revealed, and I've seen both. Negative sensations, positive sensations, emotions of sadness, anxiety, grief, guilt, depression, even in some cases PTSD, addictions to alcohol, even suicide. So I'm not a woman, so I wouldn't know what it's like to have an abortion, but I absolutely understand what it's like to go through an abortion. Because I was once in a long-term relationship with a woman for 2 years, very close relationship, and we both unexpectedly got pregnant. This was many years ago. To our surprise, of course, we got pregnant. We didn't plan it at all. We've never had this accident. And we had very strong discussions after. For a few weeks, we discussed and things, and we did decide that we would go and do an abortion procedure in a private clinic, very beautiful clinic, very respectful, very professional clinic in Toronto. I mean, this was a person I've known very closely for 2 years, and we've never had this problem before. We've never in any way thought about it, discussed it, let's do it. Our intention wasn't there. This was a very kind, sweet, very beautiful empath type of individuals. We never had any deception, problems, issues, minuscule breakups or anything like that in a relationship, a great relationship. But unfortunately, this just came from out of nowhere. There was really no way best to describe it in. I felt really bad even to this day for this person, this nice, would have to go through such trauma and agony, but she did, and I was there with her. And we both went through this procedure, and several weeks after, about a month after, we had even more deeper conversations, very heart-to-heart, vulnerability, no masks, full transparency, and we decided to separate. And we've been apart ever since. We haven't seen each other in many years. And as far as the crossing paths with this person, and I've shared this story with some of my clients. I've seen her maybe 5 times since then, and it's been multiple years. And I know she doesn't watch this video, so I'm not revealing her private information, name, identity, anything. I would never do that. I've kept that very private, and always would to the fullest degree. But I wish this woman all the greatest things in life, of course, and her family. And she's married now with children, a great guy. I know who the guy is, so I wish her all the greatest things. But this left me for many years, for sure, reflecting. Not in depressive state. We didn't do anything wrong intentionally to harm someone. We were just caught up in a really bad situation and unforeseen circumstance. And when I got into channeling eventually, 2016, so I started to learn how to channel, get into channeling with THETA, TAURI, and other beings. And eventually I got connected to a lower fractal consciousness of my soul, so higher self, and got into higher dimensional layers and spoke to a layer which is responsible for family karma and for karmic connections and contracts and sexuality, reproduction, communication layer, family ties layer, and all of these things. And I was able to learn many things about this abortion, these pregnancies. That the first thing, it was not planned by me. It wasn't planned by her. It wasn't planned by the soul. This was actually manifestation energy that secretly my former partner had, and she held very close to her heart on a subconscious level. And then also, to my surprise, it was manifestation energy by a family member under the oversoul who hasn't incarnated yet. So the fetus energy, the best way to describe it. And all these things were happening in the background on a soul level, away from me, away from her. We obviously never talked about it. We never planned on it. It was not our intent. Zero intentions to intentionally do it. And I didn't want to have children at the time. She didn't want to have children at the time. So this was something that was happening on a soul level. So I learned that. The second thing I learned as far as the soul layers are concerned, that they didn't really care for my preference. The soul works really funny. I have communications with the higher self fractals all the time. I teach soul dynamics course. I teach how to channel course. And I'm a channeler, so it's what I do. I allow their energy to flow through me. And the soul is very neutral. Not positive, not negative, very neutral. So on their level, they were like, well, if you get pregnant, you get pregnant. Like, deal with it. So as the more I communicated with my higher self, with the soul, I learned many things, pieces of education about pregnancy and abortions that I never knew, including energy transfer, trauma transfer. So the first thing, obviously, it's the very physical thing, as it was explained to me. You have sperm, you have eggs, you have embryos created, and hey, there you go, a woman gets pregnant. Whether there's a miscarriage or not, you're gonna get pregnant, and that's it. That's a physical aspect, surface level stuff, 3D stuff. But then the second thing I learned, that during the intimacy between me and her, during the egg and sperm touching, no soul was assigned yet. No soul is ever assigned into that early, into the creation. Souls get inserted much, much, much later, post-birth, when the baby's actually born, not during pregnancy. So the soul, when the appropriate time happens, they'll attach to themselves fully. So the entire fractal of the soul, which is what, 10% for humans, 14%, depending on the soul evolution, that level of consciousness will go into that baby. But as far as the tagging is concerned, I call it tagging, is something that I say. Consciousness will tag the fetus and say, yep, I'm about to incarnate in there in about 9 months or 15 months from now. Then I learned that the soul itself, as powerful it is, it cannot intervene. They cannot kill the fetus, they cannot kill the egg, they cannot kill the sperm, they cannot kill a male or a female, they cannot have us get hit by a car or anything like that. They cannot intervene. So they just let things happen as is. And they explained it in their own terms, saying that as far as humans are concerned, human physical plane, it's just a plane. It's a plane of energy, and souls can only produce conscious interactions with souls on their own side for the pregnancy, meaning with other souls, meaning that soul can talk to a soul can make a deal with the soul, with other soul of the other human, so that these two humans who are on Earth having sex can actually get pregnant. The fourth thing I learned, and there's many, but definitely I remember that as far as subconscious desire was there by my former partner. Not a lot, but definitely some. And the reason why, as it was explained very, very clearly, is that she really wanted to certify their relationship, strengthen their relationship, have a long-term relationship ending in marriage. More children, marriage, family, living together. We were not living at the time. I was living separately, she was living separately. The fifth thing that was explained, I remember, is that the sperm, the egg, this whole thing, the embryo, the small consciousness that is tagging the fetus, the embryo, only can stay there for very, very few amount of weeks, very short amount of time. And the reason why they do that is because they cannot just sit there and make a decision. Two humans make the decision, abortion or not, miscarriage or not. All of these things are decided by the physical human dynamics. And then the fetus will disconnect from the consciousness. The other thing I learned too is that, being a channeler now of a very powerful race, I can connect to 6.9 density at any time, bypassing 4, 5, 6 density, any hybrid race, any Pleiadian race, any Arcturian race. But certainly I can connect to the highest forms of my higher self. So that's 6 density self-mastery layer. And I learned that I don't need to apologize in my own meditations, which I was doing, to the embryo, to the fetus, to the consciousness of this baby. All of these things I was desperately pleading, like, please forgive me. I didn't know what else to do. I was just sincerely apologizing. And a message came back. And a message came back from this consciousness that was supposed to be my son, that was supposed to be my daughter, says, hey, listen, just so you know, all we wanted to experience as a consciousness was the abortion process. That's it, not of human physical life. That's your business. So that was very interesting. But another thing through reptilian channeling I learned is that the human can actually request a member of their oversoul to be incarnated inside of the fetus. So if I was to have with willpower, with desire, with free will, with intention, and say to my girlfriend or wife and say, my partner, hey, I want to get pregnant, I can actually request that from my higher dimensional layers for this negotiation to take place, and it will be granted. Yeah. So quite a lot of information I remember finding out, just mind-blowing stuff. And I plan on writing a book about it one day, about all of these different things that are not related to KALASK, not related to THETA, TAURI, the two main races that I channel. But a lot of things happen on a soul level. absolutely all happen on a soul level, including interventions, last-minute interventions, cancellations of flights, medical interventions, early death, exit points, yes? So all these things can happen on a soul level decision. And as far as seeing my clients, I work with a lot of people online, StreamYard and Zoom, when it comes to their own abortions, traumas, rapes, sexual assaults, physical assaults, death of the family members. My heart goes out to them all the time. And I always say to them, as I would say it now, don't have guilt. Don't have shame. Don't have somebody trying to fix you. Things happen to you at a wrong place in life, wrong time of your life. In this short incarnation, you did the best that you can. Make better decisions next time. Don't make it a habit, but it's all that you could have done at that time. So don't feel bad for yourself. And I used to teach a lot of seminars a long time ago. I was in a law enforcement industry. And after that, I got into a bodyguard close protection industry. And I had a book written back then. I have a book written now in 2025 called My Path to Thuban, based on KALASK. My experiences with KALASK. It's been released on Amazon. It's on my website. But in early 2000s, about probably 22, 23 years ago, I wrote a booklet called Attack Stop. And it was distributed to law enforcement agencies, intelligence agencies, women's shelters here in Canada, a lot of municipal, federal agencies. And it was tips for women when you're traveling alone, in an elevator alone, when you're in a parking lot alone, what happens after you're beat up by a partner, what happens in a domestic situation. The most important thing now, I would tell a person, is to remove all of that energy you're fixating on shame and guilt, but actually put it towards healing, focusing on the healing part. Removal of that trauma. I teach trauma removal courses all the time, and many other people do, but removal of the trauma. Removal of the trauma and the intertwined webs of energies between your white system of energies, because it's white, and the intertwined webs of trauma energy. And this is very, very important. Otherwise, you're going to be feeling shitty for the rest of your life. It's very important to remove the trauma from all things: abortions, divorces, death of the family members, being cheated on. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen in a relationship? You get cheated on. I mean, that's horrible, horrible to get over that. And I work with people that go through these infidelities, and we heal, and it takes a long time, but we heal. And I support abortions if they're done for the right reasons. But I don't support abortions by women that say, oh, I just hooked up with a guy at the gym because he picked me up at the front desk, or online hooking up apps. Someone that just randomly hooked up with on a fling. Or women that say, well, you know, it was nice to be seen by someone and taken out for dinner. Or I was vulnerable, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm a victim. Like, enough with the victim with blanket nonsense. Or women who sleep with their coworkers for the fun of it, with their bosses for the fun of it, just to feel adrenaline and rush. Only to rely on pregnancy pills and abortion procedures and all these things. This is nonsense, it's crazy. I've heard so many of these stories. And a lot of these women are playing God. They're playing God. They're misusing a lot of these opportunities. Horrible judgment, horrible lack of morality. I mean, like, fuck off with these victimhood excuses that people use these days, these fairy tale justification, disgusting sexual behavior that they're pulling off. I mean, have some dignity and respect for yourself, for your lineage, for your ancestors, for your family, for your children, for your brothers and sisters, mothers and father. Relying on abortions, it's ludicrous, it's absolutely lucid. But the problem with casual sex is that it's horrible, by the way, for energetic reasons, but also for karmic reasons, trauma reasons, and I'll explain what I mean. So sexuality, orgasmic energy is something I've done a video on already, and during that time, what happens is the consciousness sinks between the two people, whether they're homosexuals or not, straight, it doesn't matter, sex is sex, orgasms are orgasms. So on a deeper level, traumas get transferred, verified information, fact of all facts, during sex, especially during orgasms. And what happens is, within those several seconds, traumas get transferred.